Good afternoon and welcome to another of Tim's Tech Talk videos here at Venom Motorsports Canada. So today we're going to spend some time looking at the fuel system on the X22. And we're going to start on the left side of the bike. So imagine yourself sitting on the bike. If you were seated on the bike, this would be the left side, and of course the other side would be the right side. So we're going to adjust our lighting so that we can get a good look at the fuel system and its various components. So the very first thing that we're going to see is that the fuel line is connected to what's referred to as a Petcock, the on-off valve for the fuel. And you'll notice that there's a couple of different positions on this Petcock. If you turn the Petcock in this position, the arrow's pointing up and the handle's pointing down, the gasoline will now flow from the main tank through down to the fuel filter. This is the normal operating position for the fuel Petcock. If you turn it this way, so it's now been reversed, the arrow's pointing down, the handle's pointing up, you're now going to be siphoning fuel from the reserve tank. And the reserve tank is the lowermost bottom portion of the fuel tank, and it's really nice to have. So if you typically always have the Petcock set in this position, handle down and the arrow up, you're going to be taking fuel from the main tank, the main part of the tank. So let's imagine you're driving down the road and one day you run out of gas. Well, you haven't really run out of gas because you can just change the position, just like I've done right there, and you're now going to take from the reserve tank, which is very handy if you run out of gas. So it's a nice feature. Again, normal position, arrows pointing up, handles pointing down. Then we go from the Petcock, follow our fuel line right here, and it goes to the fuel filter. Then from the fuel filter, it scoots around and goes to the right side of the bike to feed into the Petcock on the carburetor, and we're going to have a look at that in just a moment. Before we do, we're going to spend just a quick sec on fuel filters. The fuel filter that comes stock with your bike looks like this. And when you have a look at the fuel filter, you'll notice if you really focus in, I'm hoping that you can see the arrow. The arrow is the flow directional arrow, and it points in the direction of fuel flow. So in this case, the filter would be installed in this manner. Fuel from the tank flows down into the fuel filter and then out of the fuel filter to the carburetor, as you can see from the directional arrow. Now, if the filter doesn't have a directional arrow on it, as this generic replacement does, you see there's no flow on that, you need to keep in mind that the square end or the flat end is the outlet and the round end is the inlet. So again, this is what it would look like with a generic replacement filter. And you can buy these generic replacement filters from us. We have them available to you, or again, from any motorcycle shop. So this is a generic filter. This is the filter that actually comes with the bike. It's really, really important that it is installed correctly. Sometimes it may be installed backwards. And if it's installed backwards on your bike will have a very funny operating condition. So what'll happen is your bike will run just fine. After about 3 kilometers, it'll run out of gas because the fluid flow through a filter installed backwards is much, much less. The bike will stall out and it won't start. But if you just sit there for about 15 minutes, it'll eventually allow enough flow back into the fuel bowl and the bike will start again and run a short distance. So that is indicative of having a fuel filter installed backwards. Again, this is the backwards position. This is the normal position. So please keep that in mind. Now we're going to have a look at what we see on the right side of the bike with the fuel system. So we're going to scoot around and bring our professional lighting over here so we can have a look at the fuel system on the right hand side of the bike. You'll see the fuel line has curved around, as we said, from the left side to the right side, and then the fuel line fills and flows up here into the Petcock on the right side of the bike. Now, when you're trying to set the Petcock, you'll notice that there's a couple of positions on it as well. You want to set the Petcock to the U position. So the U position is straight up and down again, arrows pointing upwards. Here you can see the arrow pointing up, and the handle, of course, is pointing down. This is the normal on position. If you turn the petcock this way, you've now closed off the fuel supply to the carburetor. So again, this petcock is always pointing up towards the U that you see here, the handle pointing down. You can leave this petcock in that position all the time. Never give it a second thought. If you're going to store your bike or have your bike shut off for a period of time, it's always advised to come back here and take the main petcock to the center position and shut off the fuel supply, just in case, for whatever reason, the fuel happened to have a little leak. So always shut it off when the bike is shut down for an extended period of time. And again, this is the normal operating position. I hope you enjoyed this little video, my friends. Enjoy the ride and have a great day. Bye-bye.